Well, I wasn't planning to do this, but yeah, but it is. I think it's after much thought. I thought, yeah, it'd be kind of good to talk about it. And look, I guess first things first, I'm gonna try and keep it as impartial. I'm not gonna put any views. It's not gonna. I'm not leaning one side or the other. But I think it's worth talking, and I'd certainly like to hear your thoughts on this. So we've had the Olympics kicked off in spectacular fashion on the banks of the River Seine. And yeah, it's certainly a lot to talk about. It was certainly quite different from certainly previous Olympic opening ceremonies. Look, it was not the first time that the Olympics have opened, in sort of like a public arena, like this one on the River Seine. But I guess, generation after generation has been used to the fact that, the Olympics have opened in a stadium, whether it's, in an Olympic stadium. And so, yeah, this was certainly quite unique. I gotta say, yeah, look, I got up at about 5 and watched it. I don't normally watch opening ceremonies, but son wanted to, so we watched it. And look, it was quite enjoyable. Look, I haven't watched an Olympic ceremony in full since London 2012, and that was because I was in London and everyone else was watching it. It's not really the opening and closing ceremony. It's not really something that I really care about. But yeah, London 2012 was pretty spectacular. Of course, you had Rowan Atkinson, you had Daniel Craig as James Bond, and even the late Queen Elizabeth was in there, and she was really great. It was a really memorable, funny British sort of event. And look, the essence of this was sort of captured here. I think the French were trying to obviously display the best of their French culture and history, and there were some great elements there. Look, there's going to be bits that you would have to be French to understand. And it started pretty well. I thought it was really unique. It was beautiful. But of course, yeah, look, there have been some talking points, which I guess, look, from the first look, I think firstly there was the one scene is that, yes, firstly there was the scene with the three, LGBT guys, and they go into a room. My son didn't really understand it, and yeah, look, I guess, I think you'd have to understand. You'd have to really look deep in it to understand. But it was obviously to symbolize love. Yeah, and look, I guess, there's going to be arguments that the Olympics is, it should really stay out of the politics and social matters. But on the other hand, yes, it is kind of the biggest. It is one of the biggest platforms. Look, there are arguments to it, and I'm not gonna say, but look, I guess, yeah. I mean, there's the argument: is there a place for? Is this the place for it? And the argument is like, yes, this is France. This is Paris is the city of love, and this is sort of, I guess the French. I think this is something the French are proud about. So look, this is their choice. And yeah, I think it is. Yeah, look, it is. I'd certainly like to hear the thoughts on this. And the other thing, of course, of course, so the other talking point was the drag show, which actually, when I first saw it, I thought, this was sort of. I think we were waiting for New Zealand to come on in their boat. And it was sort of after Norway, like, oh yeah, and then they just intruded like, oh yeah, we're going to do, I think I can't remember what it was, what the French word is, and it was like, oh yeah, my first initial thought was that it was just like a drag fashion show with the DJs or whatever were in drag, and then it sort of came out later. I was reading, it's like, oh okay, this is sort of actually meant to be a sort of like a mock of the Last Supper. And I was like, yes, and I can see, yes, that would, if from a, if you are considered a Christian point of view, that would be quite offensive. And I think if you knew what the context of it, and I can see why people would be offended by it. And I guess, yeah, again, yeah, I'd certainly like to hear your thoughts. Well, I'm going to be a coward here and just sit on the fence because I don't know how emotionally charged this is. But look, my first impression when I saw the opening ceremony, yeah, I really liked I really liked what I saw. I thought it was it was quite vibrant and really, kind of sort of captured the French essence. So I like the start when he had I'm pretty sure he's a famous French comedian. He was walking into an empty Stade de France. Maybe they should have just shown the tunnel rather than. I mean, it was pretty obvious he was walking into an empty Stade de France. And you could see what was going to happen. So a bit of direction issues there, but then passing the torch to Zizou. That was a great moment. And then, fortunately, Saint Denis isn't full of cafes that nice. And catching the metro. But obviously, there's a bit of creative licenses there. And then, going to the kids and the catacombs and the Phantom Opera stuff. And then, they go on to the boat, which, starts the whole thing. I thought, and then, the Minions part will always, resonate with the kids. And I thought it was pretty funny. The kids have watched that 100 times now. So the Minions bit was pretty good. I didn't actually know the Minions were. I didn't know the creator of the Minions was French. So that was kind of cool. But so look, that's I guess it is interesting and not. Look, I've done a bit of research into what the reactions are, and it seems to be I think it was news.com.au and I think was it the GB News, which are. I guess it should be noted, news.com.au is a bit of they do tend to go for shock, and GB News is, labels itself as a conservative British channel, and that's where all the sort of they've put the labels of this is the worst opening ceremony ever. I don't think it was that bad. I was just a little bit surprised to see that reaction, but so certainly like to hear his thoughts. It's a bit of a short video because, we're in Olympic season, and it is going. My last Olympics video seems to be going really well. Though that was more about rugby, and sorry if I triggered people wrongly. It was just a view on what it's looking. Why of course questioning if I guess the All Black Sevens crashing out of the Olympics. Does anyone in New Zealand? I guess kind of got the vibe that maybe New Zealand isn't quite as upset as it could have been, like if the All Blacks had been knocked out by France in the quarterfinals, that sort of thing. So look, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Keep it open and respectful, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. And just if you like, do like and subscribe to this channel. Oh yeah, I should also mention having Gojira with with Marie Antoinette, from the balcony was pretty cool.